Hi friends, welcome to this week's episode, and tonight's topic is how to be unapologetic in really figuring out what you want, how to get what you want. I think that a lot of people have a hard time either figuring out what they want or figuring out their priority level of what they want, or some people might be confused about what other people might be pressuring them to feel versus how they actually feel, and and so I just wanted to talk about a couple things related to that issue. So the first thing that I'd like to point out is that everybody wants something different out of their life, and that is okay. That's a great thing. We are all different. There is no cookie cutter mold for success. Some people might think of success as having, a multi-million dollar job. Some people might think of success as being a good parent to their kids. Some people might think of success as getting married and having no kids. Some people might think of success as being devoted to the church. Some people might think of success as, really, finding time to do all of their hobbies and travel. I mean, there's no one cookie cutter mold for success or happiness or anything. And that's a good thing. So I think that when people want something, they need to figure out whether they actually want it or whether they think other people want them to have it, or that they should have it because other people have it too. So the first thing that I advise you to do is to make a list of things that you might want. And I want this list to be all-encompassing. So me, for example, I'm going to write down something as insignificant as, I want a new water bottle with like a cool little motivational saying on it to encourage me to drink water. That's a totally silly want, all right? So that's one side of the spectrum. But I'm also going to put on the list, like life goals. Like, I want to work for myself, and I want to make X amount per year to support my family or something. I'm going to write other things, like I want to travel to Japan someday. This can be as insignificant or as significant as you want, but I want you to write down all of them. They don't have to be put into any sort of particular order or pecking order or priority order. Doesn't matter. I just want you to write down a full list. What do you want? And I'm not talking about just I'm not talking about what necessarily you need. Like, I need this much money to pay all my bills. Like, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what you want, what you desire, what your soul craves. So make that list. After you've made that list, I want you to have a good hard look at all of those things. And I want you to write down next to these things why you want them. Figuring out your why is huge. And sometimes you might think you want something, but then when you sit down and ask yourself why, then you realize, oh, well, maybe I didn't really want it that much. So finding out your why is really, really helpful, I find, in figuring out how you should prioritize these different wants. So, and it also helps me determine what are the things that I desire in my soul to have a good and fulfilling life, versus passing fancies that I might not want tomorrow. I might want it today, but I might not want it tomorrow. So it really helps me out. So for example, let's say you write down something like, I want, I don't know. Let's say you want a really, really high paying job. Okay, that's great. Do you want so are you okay with working full-time hours in order to get that high-paying job? Do you want that high-paying job because you're worried about some bills? Do you want a high-paying job because you think that you should have a high-paying job in order to feel like a productive member of society? Are your parents or your friends or your spouse or somebody else pressuring you to find a high-paying job? So what are the outside forces that are motivating that desire? So that's something to think about. Or do you think that this high-paying job is going to make your life easier? Is it going to be a catalyst for other things that you might want? I want a high-paying job so that I can pay off XXX bills. I want a high-paying job so that I can go on vacation. I want a high-paying job so I can do this. It just, so some things can be catalysts for other things. And it doesn't have to just be about money. You could say something like, I want work-life balance. Okay, well, what does work-life balance actually look like to you? What is work-life balance going to enable you to have? More time to travel? more time to be a better parent, more time to do other activities that you enjoy. So figuring out which wants are going to be catalysts for other wants is a huge thing to me as well. So that's something else to think about. Once you have all of these wants down and you've sort of figured out, oh, well, I didn't really want this after all, or oh, maybe I just want this because, you know, my husband is super pressuring me about it. Maybe I don't really want it at all. Maybe I need to rethink that, you know. So there are all sorts of, you know, different ways that you could categorize that for yourself and whatever that works for you. After you have that list and after you've figured out all of your whys and written all of those down, then the next question to ask yourself is, am I embarrassed for wanting this? For example, I don't want a full-time job. I don't. I absolutely don't. I don't want a big house. And it's not just about, well, it's more expensive. I don't want a big house because I don't want to have to spend a ton of time cleaning it. I'm a clean freak and I clean my house all the time. You can ask my husband. I am a total crazy person when it comes to the cleanliness and orderliness of my house. Like if you use something, put it away, you know, that sort of thing. So if I had a big house, I know that it would just stress me out because I'd spend all my time cleaning up after myself and making sure that my house is clean and well maintained, and it would just be a bit pain in the butt. So I don't want a big house. Am I embarrassed about that? No. But if you're somebody who feels that way, and if you're embarrassed for not wanting the bigger is better sort of American Western notion of life, then you know, you can sit down and ask yourself, well, why am I embarrassed for wanting this? Why? Why am I embarrassed for wanting a little house? That's a great thing. A little house is a great thing. A little house doesn't mean that you appear to be unsuccessful for other people. It doesn't matter how big your house is. It's about how well you maintain it. That's what's going to make you look classy or not, in my opinion. That's just one tiny example. Let's say you don't want a full-time job. You want a part-time job that pays enough money so that you can pay your bills and have a little bit on the side to do the things you enjoy. Okay, great. But let's say all your friends have really fancy, high-paying, full-time jobs. And let's say they look down on you for not wanting that. Well, you might be embarrassed for not wanting that super fancy job. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, if that super fancy job means that you have literally no time to breathe or sleep or enjoy any of the things that you want to enjoy, and it's too stressful of a lifestyle for you, then great. Have a wonderful time with your part-time job. There's nothing wrong with that. So figuring out what you actually want and then figuring out whether you might be embarrassed to talk about what you actually want. If you're embarrassed to talk about what you actually desire, chances are you might be slower in taking steps to actually achieve what you desire. Let's take fitness, for example. I was, 220 pounds. I was very overweight. I was sluggish. I felt like crap. I wanted to be buff. I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be one of those skinny girls. I wanted to have a lot of energy. I wanted to be able to eat a ton and sleep well and, be fit at the same time. And I wanted it really bad. And for a long time, I was embarrassed about wanting that because everybody else in my family is a big Italian with big hips, big butt, big guts. Everybody's big on my side of the family. And for a long time, I was embarrassed to even mention that desire to them, even though I had that extreme desire to want to get healthy and want to be able to move my body and to look good in a bikini. And I wanted it so bad, but I was really embarrassed to mention it to my family because everybody was a big Italian and they embraced this, their big lifestyle, and they ate a lot of lasagna, and it is what it is. So when I finally started to pursue my goals, I found that I was telling my friends and people in my graduate school collegiate community more than I was telling my family because I was still embarrassed. But as the more of a support network that I had with my friends, the more empowered I was to make those decisions and to start really putting that forward as a priority in my life. And then when I started to see results, and when my family started to see my results, when I like came home from grad school and they was, oh my gosh, look at you, you look amazing. I remember I came home for Thanksgiving and my cousin was like, look at you look so good, keep it up, like you look wonderful. I realized that my embarrassment for wanting that and my sort of reluctance to tell my family about that goal was so silly, because my family loves me and they're going to support me in my goals. And it didn't matter that they were all, you know, big happy Italians who that didn't necessarily subscribe to the lifestyle that I wanted to subscribe to, because they love me and they support me. And so I found that I just felt silly for not telling them sooner. And so, and this doesn't even have to be about fitness. This can be about anything. Let's say you want X lifestyle that just doesn't jive with a lot of the people that are in your circle. If those people love you and care about you and support you, they're going to support your decisions. Unless they're, super self-destructive, like, but anyway, it's, if basically, try to figure out if you're embarrassed for wanting something, if you're embarrassed about telling certain people whether you want something, because it really could be a catalyst for, starting to make changes. If you feel like you've got that support network, you need to feel like people have got your back about something. It really, really helps you stay motivated. So that's something else to think about too. Other things that might hold you back. If you might be, so we covered, if you might feel embarrassed about telling people about things. What else is holding you back from these things that you desire? Is money holding you back from the things that you desire? Is lack of free time holding you back from the things that you desire? Is, not enough of a support network holding you back from something that you desired? Figuring out what's holding you back and the steps that you can take in that direction to eliminate those things and to really get the ball rolling is really helpful, especially when you begin to prioritize what you want and what things you can do first that will be catalysts to help you out for other things that you want later. So, really combating that so you can start to move forward rather than saying, well, someday I'd like to do this. There's 7 days in a week, and someday isn't one of them. That's how the saying goes, right? So someday I'd like to do this. Well, it's never going to happen if you keep on telling yourself someday. You need to stop taking no for an answer, especially from yourself. Especially from yourself. If you say, I would love to do X, but then you immediately come after that sentence telling yourself, well, I could never do that. I could never be a skydiver. I could never be a rocket scientist. I could never be a ballerina. I could never play the guitar. I could never lose 100 pounds. Well, that's ridiculous. You are naysaying yourself before you're even beginning. Why would you do that to yourself? You would never talk to someone you love that way. You should talk to yourself as if you loved yourself, because you should love yourself and you should empower yourself to reach your goals and to do what you want, because we get one life, people. We might as well do what we want, all right? We're not meant to just work 1 million hours a week and pay bills and pass out of exhaustion and fatigue and stress every day. We are meant to pursue happiness and do what we want. So, I hope this was helpful. Be unapologetic in your goals and you will reach them. Have a good night.